The helicopter blades sliced through the crisp autumn air, sending golden leaves swirling across the manicured lawn of Riverside Country Club. Inside, the banquet hall, champagne flutes paused mid-air, and conversations died as the rhythmic thump-thump-thump grew louder. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, 30 former classmates watched a sleek black aircraft descend onto the parking lot like a mythical creature claiming its territory. "No way," whispered Jennifer Martinez, her perfectly manicured hand trembling slightly as she gripped her husband's arm. That can't be her. But it was. 10 years ago, Sarah Chen had been the punchline of every cruel joke at Riverside. Hi, the girl with thrift store, clothes and secondhand textbooks, the one who brought peanut butter, sandwiches in wrinkled paper bags while others ordered gourmet lunches, the student who stayed late in the library not because she loved learning, but because the heating had been shut off at her apartment again. They'd called her Sad Sarah, Chen the Burden, and worse, names that still made her stomach tighten when they echoed in her memory during quiet moments. The invitation to the reunion had arrived 3 months ago, forwarded to her office by an old neighbor. Sarah had stared at it for hours, her thumb tracing the embossed lettering. She'd heard through the grapevine about the Facebook group where some of her former classmates had joked about inviting her. The screenshots someone had anonymously sent showed their messages. "Remember Sad Sarah? This will be hilarious. Wonder if she'll show up in those same ratty sneakers." Sarah had every reason to ignore it, to delete the invitation and continue with her life. But then she remembered Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson had been the school janitor, a woman in her 60s who worked 2 jobs to support her grandson after her daughter died. While everyone else had looked through Sarah like she was invisible, Mrs. Patterson had seen her. Really seen her. On the coldest nights, she'd slip Sarah a few dollars for hot chocolate. She'd saved leftover food from teacher events and discreetly left it where Sarah would find it. She'd never made Sarah feel small, never made her charity feel like pity. "You're going to do something remarkable," Mrs. Patterson had told her during senior year, catching Sarah crying in a bathroom stall after someone had accidentally knocked her project into a trash can. "Not to prove anything to these fools, but because you've got something they'll never have. You know what it means to struggle, and that's going to make you unstoppable. But Sarah, when you make it, don't forget us little people. Don't forget what it felt like." Now, as Sarah stepped from the helicopter, her modest black dress and simple jewelry deliberately understated, she carried Mrs. Patterson's words like armor. The reunion committee had positioned themselves near the entrance like sentinels. Jennifer Martinez, head cheerleader turned pharmaceutical sales rep. Brad Thompson, quarterback turned regional bank manager. Ashley Wong, prom queen turned interior designer. They'd peaked at 18 and spent the last decade trying to maintain the illusion of their high school glory. "Sarah Chen," Jennifer said, her smile sharp as broken glass. "Wow, what a surprise. We didn't think you'd actually come." That was quite an entrance. "Compensating for something?" Sarah met her gaze calmly. "Actually, I'm glad you invited me. I've been hoping for a chance to come back to Riverside." "I bet you have," Brad said, his laugh too loud. "Wanted to show off? Good for you. Must be nice playing dress-up for a night." Sarah didn't take the bait. Instead, she looked past them, scanning the crowd. "Is Mrs. Patterson here? I was hoping to see her." The question landed like a stone in still water. The smirks faltered. "Mrs. Patterson?" Ashley repeated, confusion creasing her forehead. "You mean the janitor? Why would she be at our reunion?" "I wanted to thank her," Sarah said simply. "She was kinder to me than anyone else in this school." Jennifer's laugh was brittle. "Oh, this is rich. You show up in a helicopter and want to chat with the cleaning lady? What is this, some kind of humble brag?" "No," Sarah said quietly. "It's called remembering who matters." She pulled out her phone and made a call. 5 minutes later, a town car pulled up to the entrance. Sarah walked out to meet it, leaving her former classmates exchanging confused glances. When she returned, she wasn't alone. Mrs. Patterson, now in her 70s, walked beside Sarah with hesitant steps. She wore a simple floral dress, her eyes wide with confusion and worry. "Sarah, honey, what's all this?" Mrs. Patterson whispered. "Your assistant said you needed to see me urgently. Is everything okay?" Sarah took both of her hands. "Everything's perfect. Mrs. Patterson 10 years ago, When I was invisible to everyone here, you saw me. You fed me when I was hungry. You encouraged me when I wanted to give up. You lent me $40 for my AP exam fees, money I know you needed for your own bills. Tears welled in the older woman's eyes. Oh, honey, that was nothing. You would have done the same. It wasn't nothing. It was everything. Sarah's voice grew stronger, carrying across the now silent room. After graduation, I started a tech company. A small thing at first, just an app to help people find resources, food banks, free clinics, job training, things I wish I'd known about when I was struggling. The app connected people who needed help with people who could provide it. She paused, squeezing Mrs. Patterson's hands. It grew. Last year we went public. My company is now worth $800 million. But that's not why I came back. Sarah turned to address the room. Everyone had gathered closer now, phones forgotten, champagne flat in their glasses. I came back because I've been looking for Mrs. Patterson for 2 years. Her grandson, Marcus, he's brilliant. Full ride to MIT, he graduates this spring. Mrs. Patterson, I've established a foundation in your name. The Patterson Foundation will provide full scholarships, housing, and stipends to students from low-income families. Not loans, gifts. Because you taught me that sometimes people don't need a hand up. They need someone to believe they're worth helping. Mrs. Patterson's legs buckled, and Sarah caught her, guiding her to a chair. The older woman sobbed openly, her hands covering her face. There's more, Sarah continued, kneeling beside her. You're retired now, effective immediately. Your mortgage is paid off, your health care is covered for life, and Marcus's student loans? Cleared. You'll never have to work another day unless you want to. But why? Mrs. Patterson gasped through her tears. I didn't do anything special, You just treated me like a human being when no one else did, Sarah said softly. You showed me that success isn't about proving you're better than the people who hurt you. It's about becoming someone who makes sure others don't have to hurt the way you did. Sarah stood and faced her former classmates. No anger in her eyes, no triumph, just clarity. I could have come here to humiliate you all, to show off wealth and success and make you feel small the way you made me feel small. But Mrs. Patterson taught me something. More valuable than revenge, she taught me grace. Jennifer had tears running down her face, her expensive makeup ruined. Brad stared at the floor. Ashley's hands trembled. I forgive you, Sarah said. All of you. Not because you deserve it, but because carrying anger would make me bitter. And I refuse to let your cruelty define who I became. But I want you to understand something. When you mock someone, when you exclude them, when you make them feel worthless, you don't know what you're destroying. You don't know if you're crushing the next person who might have changed the world. Or worse, you don't care. She helped Mrs. Patterson to her feet. The Patterson Foundation launches next month. If any of you want to volunteer, to mentor kids who remind you of who I was, the door is open. Not for me, for them. For every invisible kid sitting in a cafeteria right now, wondering if anyone sees them. As Sarah guided Mrs. Patterson toward the exit, the older woman turned back one last time. You know what I told her all those years ago? Mrs. Patterson called out, her voice stronger now. I told her that kindness is never wasted. That the measure of a person isn't what they do when everyone's watching, but what they do when no one is. Sarah, you didn't just listen. You became it. The helicopter lifted off 15 minutes later, carrying 2 women whose lives had intersected in a high school hallway and changed everything. Below, 30 people stood in the parking lot, watching it disappear into the horizon, finally understanding that the girl they'd tried so hard to diminish had become exactly what Mrs. Patterson had predicted. Something remarkable. Not because she'd proven them wrong, but because she'd proven that one person's kindness could echo through time, creating ripples that became waves, that became tsunamis of change. And somewhere in that equation, being the class loser had mattered far less than being the one person who remembered what mattered most.